everybody. Come on in. It's the Yankey Show. We have a special guest tonight. I don't want to keep him waiting very long, so I want to make sure we're up and good everywhere and everything's going good, and then we'll get into the conversation. Like I said, we have a special guest coming on, Javier Javier. Name's so nice, you gotta say it twice. I'm excited about this. We have different political views, different beliefs, but I think it's going to be a good opportunity to show that we can have a constructive conversation in that situation across different views. Hey Joan, are we good on Facebook? Is the audio good and everything like that? I wasn't able to get out and do my regular audio test, which may sound complicated, but just involves me going out in the hallway on the phone and making sure that you can hear the show. So it's not as complicated as it sounds, but I didn't get to do that because I was rushing to try and get back in here and make sure we were good. It looks like we're up.
Okay, yeah, I'm watching it on my phone.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I couldn't really hear you when you was doing that, but...
All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to switch over to the other set then and introduce you.
Okay.
So here we go. Make sure it's all working. Yep, there you are. So this is Javier Javier, and he's our special guest today. And we're going to have just a discussion. It's going to be kind of free form, like all of our discussions usually are on this show. And because we're live and always involved with the comments and however that takes us. But to start off, we're just going to talk about different things, I thought, as far as our beliefs and where they get a little bit different. But first I wanted to introduce you and let you tell a little bit about yourself for everyone, to introduce everyone to who you are.
Sounds good. What's going on, people? I'm Javier Javier. I'm the host and the creator of the Javier Javier Show. I'm a conservative atheist, so a black conservative atheist. Better way to put it. I host my show on YouTube, and I'm basically out of the box thinker. Somebody who likes to play with all kind of wild ideas, and I'm unapologetic. I don't apologize for who I am, and I'm willing to have a discussion about anything and everything under the sun. So that's kind of my gig. So nice to meet all of you.
All right. Thank you for coming on, by the way. I got to fix something, and it's only going to... Kyle said there's an echo, and I know why it is. So I'm going to fix that, but just give me 1 second. I'm going to have to switch to my headphones.
All right.
All right, that should take away the echo for everybody. But I think that explained it really well, and you got everything out. I don't know how you summed it all up so quickly.
Yeah, I try,
Yeah, because we're different in almost everything you listed off. Like, I happen to be Christian. I'm progressive. And very left-leaning. I don't know how political I am anymore, though. As you know, I was a Bernie Sanders supporter. I still am a Bernie. I'm involved in the revolution. But my horse kind of left the race.
I don't know if he left the race. I would assume that he was basically forced out of the race against his own will.
Well, yeah, he was. What do you think of that, of what happened with Bernie, from your perspective, your side?
Well, I'm under the impression that I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that the DNC doesn't want Bernie. Neither do any of the blue dog Democrats, if you want to put it that way. But I kind of blame Bernie because Bernie should have knew this going in, especially after the first time he ran. This is something that I think Bernie should have understood from the start, that you can't deal with these people. You can't beat their system playing their game. And I just think he set himself up for that.
And I agree with you. And that's what frustrated me. You had said you watched the feed when Bernie had just endorsed Biden, of mine, to check out before the show. That's what frustrated me. When he took on this fight, I thought he had to understand that this was all or nothing, that the DNC and the establishment would do everything they could to stop him, and that they didn't want him. And he would have to fight to the end.
Well, I mean, the unique thing about Bernie Sanders is a lot of Bernie supporters went over to Trump. Now, I don't know if people like to talk about this or not, but there were a few Bernie bros who decided to go over and vote for Donald Trump in the last
I
race.
know many of them.
And okay, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I always kind of had a hard time understanding the reasoning behind that, because I get that Trump and Bernie Sanders were both supposed to be the what would you call it, the outsiders.
Yeah, anti-establishment. Yeah.
Anti-establishment, but yet I just don't see how you make the leap from Bernie Sanders to Donald Trump. I just don't see it.
I think exactly the reason you just said. A lot of those people that did do that felt like Trump was anti-establishment because the media does so much visually to make it seem that he is, that they're fighting against him. So they believe that that's really what's going on, and that's why they switched over. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I hear that all the time from these former burners. They're like, don't you see they hate him?
Well, I got to keep in mind sometimes when I'm thinking about Bernie Sanders is because of the simple fact we all know Bernie is not a Democrat. We all know this.
Right.
And yet, for the second time, he ran as a Democrat, even though I heard a lot of Bernie bros say that Bernie should not run as an independent because he's going to split the votes. But I must misunderstand what a revolution is.
No, you don't. No. I think he should have stayed. Yes. That's why I said my horse left the race. Because my race was a revolution. That's what I signed up for. Me and many of these burners, a lot of the ones that defected, they're so upset they went to the other side, the other extreme. We are in this fight, and we're very passionate about it. And I felt like that is what we're doing here. And he had to see it all the way through. And why wouldn't you split the vote? And how could you support a candidate with dementia? I probably shouldn't keep saying that. I'm not a doctor, but something's wrong with Joe Biden.
I'm trying to understand it myself. It is because you can't be against the establishment, but yet when you don't win the race, you go support the same people you claim to be a part of the establishment. It's all political to me. To me, I think Bernie is just as political as Donald Trump, as Hillary Clinton. I think it's all politics at the end of the day. And I know a lot of people think Bernie Sanders is different, but look at the results that you're getting right now. And to me, it's political. It's all about political gain in my eyes.
Well, let's for a minute just talk about how you arrived at your political stance. How did you come to that side of the political arena, the political fight? Because you seem to be an active guy, and when I was listening to you on Robert's show, it didn't sound like you were really a Republican, but you do like Trump.
Yeah, I'm conservative. I'm not a conservative Republican, and I don't see the Republican Party as the same as Trump. I clearly see a distinction between the two. But the way that I came to support Trump is kind of a funny idea, is because I'm a nihilist. And I know a lot of people think that Trump supporters are all nihilists, but I don't think they are. But I try to argue myself down from a nihilistic point of view. And I knew that Trump was going to win the election the day he came down that elevator. Now, I was kind of like 50-50, like, oh, this guy got something going on. But when I heard him tell Hillary Clinton at the debate, he was like, "'Cause you be in jail."
Right.
I knew it right then and there. I said, this guy is going to win. And not only should he win, I was thinking that this could be the best thing that happens to this country. and not for the reasons that you may think.
For what reasons, though?
For one, I wanted Trump to expose the establishment for who they really are. Now, there was a lot of talk about the establishment before Trump even showed up on the scene. This is one of the points Trump was making during his campaign. But Trump revealed a lot of things about how he paid certain people off for political favors. And Trump showed you that if you of a certain stature in society, that you somehow get certain privileges that the rest of us don't get. But here was a guy who was guilty of the same things that he was pointing out. And you haven't seen that in politics before. And I just thought this was the best thing for this country at the moment.
So you like Trump because he exposes what's wrong with the society. So we kind of both agree that Trump is a symptom of what's wrong, not the cause of it.
Of course. Like, if we were under different circumstances, I don't think I would be a Trump supporter. But I like to see life as a chess game, not checkers. Most people are playing checkers, but I like to see it in the viewpoint of chess. And Trump is a means to an end. I don't think Trump is the end. And if people allow this to be an opportunity to wake people up politically, then we can make that transformation in a society that we all want to see. But until we get it, I mean, what you want, the devil you know or the devil you don't?
I'm not afraid. Right now, the Democrats are trying to blackmail us with Joe Biden. I'm not afraid of Donald Trump. And I fundamentally disagree with the man on many levels. And I find what you just said very interesting because you kind of just pulled me over to a little bit. Because it is good that he brings a focus to what's wrong and gets people paying attention. But the answer is not the establishment. I won't be threatened to vote for Joe Biden.
Let me point out another. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And one thing that I do want to point out, that was like one reason that I was for Trump. The second reason I was for Trump is because the Democrats have to be punished for their behavior. I know people like to think the Democrats are the good guys, but they're really not the good guys. And you could lose the Republican Party, and you can win the Democrat Party. But if you allow this behavior to go on, you lost both parties. And right now, if you go vote for Biden, you're rewarding them for their bad behavior. You'll never see the country that you want to see.
I completely agree with what you just said. So, like Joan is saying right now that Trump does scare her a lot. Now, a lot of people are very afraid. Why do you think so many people are so afraid of Donald Trump?
You should be afraid of Donald Trump.
She should be? Why do you say that?
Well, I'm under the impression that any world leader, especially somebody who is the leader of the free world, should be a scary individual. And I know a lot of people may say, well, the president should be respectful. The president should be somebody that we can depend on and trust. That same fear she's feeling should be felt across the world. And a lot of times, what's the point of having leverage if you're afraid to use it? I mean, Donald Trump literally got him said, we got nuclear weapons. Why can't we use them? Now, do I expect Donald Trump to use the nuclear weapons? Of course I don't. But the fact that this man would literally say that on television, I want my enemies in China, the communists, I want North Korea to be afraid of my president, even if it's all a bluff at the end of the day.
So, you do subscribe a little bit to the theory that Trump has balls.
Oh, of course. And look, it may not be balls. It may just be Trump don't know what's good for himself. In a sense. It could be narcissism.
That's what I think it is. That's exactly what I think it is. I think he is so in love with himself and his own ideas and he just believes everything that comes out of his mouth. Because you were talking about this on Robert's show, but Trump lies almost endlessly. He makes things up.
Yeah. Well, I'm under the impression that all politicians lie, but Trump is just more obvious when he tells his lies.
Right, but he lies about unnecessary things.
True, and that it's a double-edged sword because I think that Trump understands if you keep telling all these lies, people will feel like you're unpredictable. And a part of a strategy, anybody who read like the 48 Laws of Power or The Prince, a good strategy when negotiating with foreign countries and stuff is to be unpredictable. You don't want your enemies to know exactly what it is you really think, or whether or not you could be here one day and the next day you could completely change your mind. That's a strategy useful if you use it in the right manner.
Could be. I just don't attribute it to. You're giving him more credit than I'm capable of giving him. So, what do you?
I get that.
So personally, as a person, do you like Donald Trump?
Oh yeah, Donald Trump is funny. I think Donald Trump is one of the funniest presidents we've ever had. I mean, if you look at one of his rallies, the type of stuff he'll say is comedic. I think he's a likable guy. Either you love Donald Trump or you hate Donald Trump, and that's a good quality to have, in my opinion.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't hate him, but and I don't fear him. Like Carol's upset right now and says he's a wannabe dictator. I know a lot of people really feel that way about him and are afraid of him. I don't feel that way and I don't hate him. I just feel like when I see him, I don't know why you just got small.
Oh, I got
Yeah,
small.
now you're changing sizes. I don't know what's going on.
Oh,
Technology's not my friend. But
yeah.
I'm not I don't attribute super villain qualities to the man. I just think I think he's a narcissist that and it just all got way out of hand. And now I think he's doing the best he can in a situation I don't think he really wanted. I don't think he expected to win in 2016. Do you?
But I
You
think
think
he
he
did.
did?
I think he wanted to win. I don't know if he expected to win, but I know he wanted to win. And I could see it on his face when Obama told him he would never be president at that dinner. And I could see it all over Trump's face that Trump was like, I'm going to show you. And somebody like myself who had that same feeling before being counted out, there's a sense of accomplishment there. I think Donald Trump wanted to be. I don't think he expected it to happen, especially going up against what you would call the establishment. But let me run this past you real quick. She said that Donald Trump wants to be a
Mm-hmm.
dictator, and that very may well be the case. I'm not in Donald Trump's mind, so I can't really tell you the truth of that matter. But what I can say is I trust American people, and that's the checks and balances. That's the average American citizen. You, me, Susan. I trust the American people to keep Donald Trump in check and every politician in check. And that's what I'm banking on at the end of the day, no matter who it is that's president.
Right. Well, what do you think about like him cutting funding to the World Health Organization, for example?
Well, I can only speak for the information that I know currently, and I haven't been reading up really heavy on WHO right now. But what I do know is that there was something going on with China where it seems like the World Health Organization was covering for China and giving out wrong information. If that is the case, then I think something needs to be done. And as far as I'm understanding, the best way to hit them is financially. So I think I might be behind it, but if there's more information that I don't know at this moment, then I may change my mind.
Right on. Let me see what Blue says. Trump is a malignant narcissist, and the world is run by psychopaths. The world is run by psychopaths. Now, how do you feel about that? Do you feel that we have fair elections in this country?
Of course not. And I was on Robert's show, I think a week ago, and we had this discussion about true democracy. And I don't know at this moment if I'm for a true democracy. And I think that's where I may differ between a lot of people on the left and most people on the right. I think I'm a black sheep when it comes to this, but I think it was Socrates or Plato. One of them said that democracy is good if you can keep it, and it's only as good as the education of the people that's voting. If most people in this country are not educated properly, they're going to make the wrong decisions. And that's where I draw the line at. I think democracy is good if people are educated enough to choose the right leaders.
So we need a
I'm
better
giving you a lot,
education
huh?
system, is what you're saying. I completely agree with you.
Yeah,
We do
of
need a better
course.
education system in this country. But in that system where everything is rigged and it's all rigged up against the people, the way that it is right now, why do you think Donald Trump is the better way to go? If you, that's assuming you agree with me that politics is mostly theatrics.
Oh, of course. I could agree with you to a certain extent. And the reason I think Donald Trump is the best choice, you let me know. Have you ever read the book, The 48
No,
Laws of Power?
I haven't.
Okay, well, I studied that book extensively. And a lot of the things that I saw in that book, I saw in Donald Trump. And Donald Trump is very good at implementing certain strategies. And a lot of people may not recognize it if you don't know what to look for. But there's a lot of intelligent people out there who think Donald Trump knows what he's doing. And there are a lot of intelligent people out there who thinks he doesn't. Who's right?
Right.
That's the question we gotta ask. But you can't just say that Donald Trump is stupid. That's not the first place I go to when you realize what he has been able to pull off by becoming president.
Well, I don't think he's
Um,
stupid.
so
I think he's clever, actually. Honestly.
yeah, much more clever than the people give him credit
Yeah.
for.
He's very good at telling people what they want to hear, and good at selling himself to his audience.
And that's one thing I think Bernie made a mistake at. It was marketing. I think marketing is very important when you're trying to become president of the
I
United
think
States.
Bernie's
And
big
I think
flaw,
that,
sorry to cut you off, I didn't mean to, but I think Bernie's big flaw was he wasn't willing to punch. He had
oh
to
yeah, everybody
hit.
was his first.
Like you said, what impressed you was when Trump said you'd be in jail. He should have pushed hard at Joe Biden in that debate instead of giving him every opportunity to tell the truth and let him stand there and lie over and over again. He should have pushed harder. He should have really attacked.
I don't think Bernie. One skill I think Bernie could have been better at is reading the environment. And I don't think that he was good at reading the shift in politics and where it's going. That was something Donald Trump was able to do. Donald Trump realized I could get up here and I could say these things and I could get away with it. And I don't think Bernie felt that way. Bernie was still trying to play politics from 2008. And that ain't where we at right now.
Yeah, I mean, Trump is definitely more free with what he says. And that is what people like. You know, Carol ended up, I hope, didn't really leave the feed. She said she had to get out because she couldn't listen to the Trump stuff anymore. This is half the reason why I wanted to have this discussion. Most of my audience is progressive, but we need to be willing to talk to the other side. You know what I mean? So I hope
Oh,
she's
yeah.
still here because there is value in this discussion. Because we both want a better world, we both want a future. We just disagree on certain things. And it's just no other way to progress unless you're willing to have these conversations. But it is kind of difficult.
Yeah, and I hope I'm not turning anybody off by this conversation because what I do on my show and in everyday life is I try to have conversations with people I don't agree with. I can care less about talking to people I agree with. I care about having discussions with people I don't agree with and find common ground and learn from one another. So, you know, I hope she's still in the feed, but there are plenty of things on the left side of the fence that I agree with. Like, I think marijuana should
I
be
totally agree
legalized.
with you there.
You know, that's something, so there are certain things that I agree with on the left side, and I'm willing to have that
I'm
conversation.
sure there's a lot. See, people they get broken up and stuck on their little team. And they feel like they can't agree with the other side about anything. We have a lot in common, actually. because I have friends that were former burners that went to Trump, but I also have a lot of Trump supporter friends. And we agree on 95% of things. Just happen to disagree on
Mm-hmm.
some deep fundamental things, but we haven't allowed that to make it to where we can't communicate with each other.
Of course. And I know I can be kind of controversial. Trust me, it's hard being a conservative atheist. you know,
I
so
bet it
I know I
is.
may say some things that.
Somebody wanted me to ask you about that. What is that like for you with Trump pushing Christianity and not respecting the separation of church and state as an atheist?
Well, okay. Well, the premise of your question, as far as not respecting the separation of church and state, what exactly do you mean by that?
Well,
Before I
I
answer you.
guess involving faith so much in his presidency. I'm asking. It was a viewer's question. I don't.
Okay.
I'm not prepared to back it up with anything. She was asking. So let's just talk
Well,
about the
I
faith
know
part.
Trump is
How does that feel to you as an
okay.
atheist?
Yeah, most Republicans, if I do say so myself, are Christian, and I am not. So sorry about that. And look, I'm an anti-theist. I am nowhere near the Christian side. And look, I got strong views about religion. But with that being said, I'm conservative for certain principles. I can care less about the religious side of it. And each conservative come in different shapes and sizes. Like I wouldn't judge you just because you may call yourself progressive based on a progressive dude that I met last week. I don't see life that way. So I deal with each individual. So when people ask me, how do you deal with the faith side of conservatism? I just say, I don't. I argue with conservatives all the time. And if it's about Christianity, I'll be right on your side or right on somebody else's side
I
debating
wonder
it.
if you think that,
So,
like, I think they use that they don't even really believe it. They use it to sell themselves.
well, I made a video about this not too long ago about cherry picking
Yeah.
God. And I think a lot of people treat God like a buffet where they go in and they say, I want a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I don't want none of this. And that's how people treat God. And I'm not speaking on everybody, but I see that a lot in society.
No, you're absolutely
So,
right. But more to what I was trying to say, like a Ted Cruz will sit there and sell himself as a deeply Christian man, and then everything he fights for and works for is against what I think Christianity should be about, which is trying to live like Christ, be like Jesus. I know you don't believe in that, but as a belief system, that's what it's supposed to be about: helping your fellow man, caring about people. And that's exactly the opposite
see,
of what he
well,
pushes for.
and I think you said it the right way. You think. I think it's subjective. I think that, I mean, even the Bible says, judge not lest you be judged. I mean, who's to say that Ted Cruz is wrong? Isn't that up to God? Isn't, I mean, that's the best I can offer
I
on that
guess in the end
subject.
it would be, but I feel like my understanding of what Christianity is that you're supposed to live your life and emulate Christ. And those would not be behaviors that I think that Jesus would condone. Jesus went into the money changer's office and flipped over the tables and started whipping people. He was outraged about greed. He was completely against that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I just always have felt that the right uses religion to sell themselves to the Bible Belt and all those people, and they know that they love to hear it. But, they're really interested
Well,
in other things. They're using it as a selling point. Just like the left, what would their thing be? Abortion rights, right? They're
um,
always pushing to protect that, women's rights. But I don't think the other side's going to
is
come
that
for
your?
that. I think they use it to scare you.
Yeah, yeah. And look, I explain on every show that I've been on, and even on my show, I try to see things through different like prisms. Like if I had to put on different shades, if I was looking at something through a different vision. So I got my political lens and I got my, societal lens where I see things through a moral perspective, if you want to say it, you know. But politically, I think it's smart. I mean, you're not playing politics right if you don't know how to play up your base and you don't know how to tailor your message to reach those people that you're trying to reach. So whether or not religion is as important to Ted Cruz or not, if it's effective, he's doing politics right.
Right. No, I get, yeah, it's effective. Sure it is. I just thought I was asking if you think that's why they use it.
It's it. Well, I do think that there are a lot of Republicans and conservatives who really do believe what they say they do, and of course, I do believe that there are a lot of them who are using it just to reach certain types of people. Of course, there has to be some of that.
Right.
Uh,
Are you in
I don't
favor
know if that gave
of
you a
things
clear
like
answer.
direct action? What do you think about what was going on in France, for example?
I'm not familiar.
The Yellow
Explain it
Vest
to me.
protests. It's an organized national protest. They gather every Saturday, and mostly they wear yellow vests. That's how they got their name. And
Mm.
it's huge, gatherings of people protesting a lot of different things. It's been going on for a very long time, but I feel like that's kind of what we need to do is more direct action and getting involved in a local level instead of focusing so much on the presidency.
Oh yeah, I'm always an advocate for voting local and putting your influence locally and letting the culture go upwards towards the politics. I don't think it should go downstream. I think it should go upstream. And but I'm not an advocate for protesting.
No,
I just don't think protest. Nah, I don't think protesting is as effective as a lot of people may
but
think it
isn't it
is.
one of the most
I
American
mean,
things you could do?
of course, and you got every right to do it. And if you want to protest, you should go out and protest. It's a beautiful thing. I just don't think it's as effective as people may think it is,
why don't you think it's effective?
because people protest about things all the time. Like, for instance, how many women protests have there been? And yet we still live in a world where women claim to be, well, I'm not going to say claim to be, but we still live in a world where women feel discriminated against and feel like they're not getting equality. So of course we made progress, but how much was it due to protesting or people actually making things happen by fighting for that position at work, or going at it with their boss, or starting their own business, or putting in policies and stuff like that to get things
Wouldn't the
accomplished.
protests though have inspired those things in a
Of
way?
course, it protesting is a strategy. I just don't think it's the most effective strategy, in my opinion. I think that it has its place, and I think it does serve a purpose. I just don't think I'm the type of person that would protest. I think I would do it by other means.
So you're more focused on the things you can immediately affect.
I'm more focused on strategy. I'm more focused on infiltration. Like, if you want the conservative party to change, infiltrate it. Learn about the conservatives. Talk the talk, walk the walk, get inside there, start planting your ideas in the conservative party. And 20 years, 30 years from now, you may see a different party. The mafia understood that. The mafia was all about infiltration, learning how to pay police off and work with judges and politicians and lawyers. This is what corporations do all the time. And they seem to be more effective. Um, so everybody has their place. Everybody can't be infiltrating organizations or political parties. Of course not. But, you know, I just think that's a more effective way to get things done.
So for those on the left, because like I was joking yesterday, I like I was telling Joan, I'm going to fight against Joe Biden. I'm going to fight against the Democratic establishment. And that means Trump will win. And I'm already at peace with that. You know, that's one thing I've already decided, that to fight the agenda I'm going to fight, that means Trump's going to win. So I've already settled with that. But a lot of people haven't. And I forgot what I was going to say because I got distracted by the comments. Because Blue said it's a zombie apocalypse.
You're right.
Yeah. He said during a protest, if you have the right kind of pressure or support, a great deal can be accomplished. And
True.
Shawn was saying that citizens need to revolt against these traitors who sold us out. Enough is enough. Then strategy to the Capitol and bring the rope. There's a lot of...
So let me ask you this. That brings up an idea. If you want to make change, do you think... I know one of the progressive platforms is to put tighter restrictions on the Second Amendment as far as guns go, on what you're able to have and what you're not able to have. And if you really think the government is not having your best interest at heart, would you want to live in a country where the only people who have guns are the government? Or have, that's a question I have for progressives.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I'll do my best to answer it. I have a friend of mine that's very into the Second Amendment, probably as deeply as I am into the First. I'm not even a gun owner. I don't own a gun. I like them. My dad owned guns. I've shot them. I just never had the desire to own one for myself. I do support the right to bear arms, but I am in favor of sensible gun control. I don't see the reason why a regular person needs a military-style weapon. I don't understand the logic behind it. I get that it's fun and it's neat, but it's also extremely dangerous. And I don't think there's going to be a situation where the military is going to be the only one that has the weapons. Wouldn't want that at all. I know a lot of people think if you give an inch, they'll take a mile. So if you agree not to have bump stocks, they're going to come for my 9mm next month. They don't want to give it all. Like I wouldn't want to go, all right, from now on, we can't say the F word. Every other word's good, but we're going to give up that one. Because when are they going to come for another word? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because like, there's this notion that assault weapons, which is not really a thing, but there's this notion that certain types of weapons are more dangerous than other weapons. But handguns are the guns that's mostly used in the commissions of a crime.
Right.
So it only follows if you get rid of certain AR-15s, if you get rid of those type of weapons, then they're gonna realize, well, people still going shooting up schools with handguns. It logically follows, well, let's take the handguns.
Right. You can still kill effectively with a handgun, but can't you kill more effectively with an AR-15?
Well, AR-15s are designed for specific things. Yes, you could possibly. It depends on the person. I put it like that. Some people are more efficient with a handgun. Handguns do serve a good purpose when you're trying to, focus your aim on certain things. Some distances matter. So it all depends on the scenario and the situation. But, I'm no gun expert, so I'm only telling you my limited knowledge on what I do know. But this is my thing. If you had to go back in time to Nazi Germany and you was going there to help the Jews, what guns would you take to help the Jews escape Nazi Germany? Would you take a handgun or an AR-15?
I'd probably take the AR-15s. So I'd be going to do some damage. See, that's what I mean. Like if I was looking to go to a concert or a nightclub and kill as many people as I could, I'm going to be drawn to that AR-15 more than I am the handgun. It's going to give me the opportunity to do a lot of damage really fast.
Okay. Well, the AR-15 is just like a handgun. The AR-15, you pull the trigger, you get one shot, just like you do with a pistol.
Right.
It's the same mechanism. It serves the same purpose. I said it only depends on what scenario you're in, which handgun or which weapon you would choose. But I'll tell you, if you took the AR-15 to the club to shoot up the club, is no different than taking a pistol, honestly.
Blue says nobody needs an assault
So,
weapon. What? I kind of agree. Like, why would you need though? Why would you need one? Or do you feel it's not about need? It's about you have the right to have it.
well, I don't agree with the idea of assault weapon. Like, there's no real definition for assault weapon. But what I will say is the reason people need certain types of guns, the big guns you see, like the AR-15s, the AK-47s, and stuff like that, is many reasons. People use them for sport. People use them for hunting. People use them for training, ex-military. But the reason that I think we should have access to these guns is for the simple fact is, where do we stop? That's my question. Where do we stop? Like we was talking about earlier. Let's say they get the AR-15. Let's say they get the AK-47 and whatever you want to name. What's to stop them from coming for everything? You couldn't give me a reason why they couldn't. They already took other guns and you let them do it.
Right. So you wouldn't be in favor of budging at all on the Second Amendment. That's how you feel. No sensible. There's no such thing as a sensible gun laws.
Well, of course. I mean, background checks. And when I say background checks, I don't mean universal background checks. I don't think that every place in the country should have a registered place where they can go find out who has guns and where they have them. It's just a violation of privacy. But I do believe that before you be able to buy a gun, there should be a background check done. It doesn't matter whether you at a gun shop or if you at a gun show or whether you buying one from off the street. You should have to get a background check. Also, people with certain mental health disabilities who are not stable, if they're deemed unfit to be able to own carry a firearm, they shouldn't be able to. Like, those are reasonable to me. I don't think that we should just be limiting people ability to buy guns based on I just don't see a reason why. I don't even understand a criteria why you would want to take an AR-15 from somebody. It does the same thing as a pistol.
I think that people's concern and my concern, I'll just speak for myself, is that it seems like an unnecessary weapon. Like my dad had an SKS, which is similar to like an AK-47 style weapon, an older gun. I'm not very well versed in firearms, but that was called an SKS.
I get you.
And it would be comparable to like an AR-15 maybe, for like a neat novelty type gun. And I shot it, and it is different than a pistol. I've shot his pistols, and it is different.
Well, yeah. The mechanism is the same. Like you shoot once, you
Right,
get one
and
bullet,
I mean,
just like a
the
pistol.
same,
but the
right, the
power,
power.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, honestly, if I break into your home and you trying to kill me, if you shoot me with a Glock 43 versus an AR-15, I'm probably still going down or I'm running. It really doesn't make a difference. But let me ask you this. Why do we need muscle cars? Why do we need luxury cars? Why can't everybody drive a Honda Accord?
Right.
People want it because people like guns. People enjoy it based on hunting and sports. People say, I like this gun because it has this and it has that and it has this. And you can do that with anything. Why do we have certain types of cars? We don't need them, but that's no reason to encroach on somebody's Second Amendment right because you feel like it's an unnecessary want or desire.
Well, I mean, I get what you're saying, and the only reason why I'm afraid to push harder is because I feel the same way about the First Amendment. So I get the logic in it, but I just don't understand why people need to defend these military grade weapons. You don't feel like there's anything as
Well,
what? Go ahead.
well, I think we need more education when it comes to guns. We need better training. We need to open up a discussion and a dialogue about these issues because actually AR-15 is a civilian weapon, and the military thought the AR-15 was such well designed that they started using them. But if this is why we need people to be educated about guns. That way we can have a serious dialogue because there are plenty of things I'm willing to give on that side of the issue. Like, school shootings. I don't want school shootings. You don't want school shootings. Let's talk about how we can prevent school shootings. But in order to have that conversation, we both need to come to the table with a general sense of understanding on how these issues actually take place.
Right. And so, okay, let's take a little turn then. I think the reason why those issues take place is a big problem with the mental health care in this country. How do you feel about like a Medicare for all system?
Well, I'm all about taking care of those who can't take care of themselves. Would I put a blanket Medicare for all system in place? I don't think I would, but I would be willing to help those people who suffer from mental illnesses or disabilities, or people who have multiple children that they having a hard
But
time
isn't
struggling.
that what's keeping them from getting that treatment? That they don't have access to it.
Yeah, and I'm for finding a way for them to get access to it.
I just told you.
But like, take somebody like myself. I'm fully able-bodied. I work multiple jobs. I do different things, and I'm well capable of being able to decide which healthcare is better for me and to tailor that healthcare specifically to what I desire. Now, I get that everybody's not in that situation, but I don't think I should get a free ride. I think that we should help those who can't help themselves. And everybody else.
I'm sorry. There's a lot to unpack there. Why do you think it's a free ride? Like what? Our taxes would go up.
Of course. And like, for instance, the millionaires aren't getting the $1,200 checks right now, are they?
Do you know how much they're getting?
They're getting certain tax credits and certain, like, debt forgiveness and
all
loans
kinds of stuff like that
they can take out.
And then if you make $1 million or more a year, you're getting $1.7 million stimulus.
And I believe if they take out a loan or something like that, they have to pay that loan back at a certain time.
I'm not sure about that, but if you make over $1 million a year, I read this in Forbes just 2 days ago. You're getting, because of a thing they snuck into the coronavirus relief stimulus, they're getting $1.7 million.
Okay, let me ask you this, and we're gonna get back to the topic we was talking about. But I just want to ask you this real quick: would you prefer that the businesses went out of business?
I don't agree with bailing out big business. I agree with bailing out small businesses, but not the big banks and Wall Street and big industry like we're doing. I don't agree with that. I think that.
Well, why do you think they're so big?
How do I think they got to, because they don't pay into society.
So you don't think it's because people use their services and products?
People use their services and products, but at the same time, they should be paying into society.
Well, actually, the rich pay 70% of the taxes in this country. And also, when they give out, a lot of rich people give out money in like donations. They help and they start foundations. They help across the world and many things. Look at Bill Gates. Bill Gates is doing many things with his money that's helping people that don't go into the tax system, but he's doing it directly by funding it. And I just don't think that people have a full view on what's really going on. If these big corporations go out of business, which are the same corporations that hire majority of people, not majority of people, but they hire a big significant of the population, where do you think those people go after they don't have a job?
Why would they go out of business? Why is it that, okay, so in a $2.2 trillion stimulus, $360 million went to the people. The rest of that money went to the upper percent of the financial population, the wealthier people. How come the average person is supposed to be like, hey, I hope you were ready for this shit. I know you didn't have nothing to do with the coronavirus. I know you couldn't have possibly known it was coming. I hope you were ready, though, because here's $1,200, and a pat on the back. I know that's not even going to add up to your rent money, and we couldn't let you go to work. Some people were not allowed to go to work. We're up to 22 million people unemployed. But these businesses worth millions of dollars, they're supposed to be protected at a higher rate because they employ people. I think they should have been prepared for something like this as well. Just, I don't know. I disagree with throwing a tax
Well,
funded life raft to private industry.
I do look. I do agree with you that when businesses mess up, I think that they should be allowed to go out of business because that's the free market. The free market dictates if you're successful, you succeed. If you fail, you should fail. And the only difference in this situation that I find between what happened in 2008 or like in the recession versus right now, the government basically forced people to close. The government caused this, even though I know there's a virus, but the government didn't give people an option whether or not to take a risk and go to work. So in the recession, when the recession happened, those companies messed up and they should have had to pay that price. But right now, the government is keeping people from working and keeping companies from opening. And just like me and you, they should have to pay us for that. If you can't go to work and feed your family, the government should take care of it because they're telling you you can't go to work.
I agree with you. So, what would you think about something more along the lines of what Bernie was pushing for, like a temporary UBI of a monthly payment, a stimulus to the people that can't work or put out by this, instead of bailing out the
Well,
corporations? Or do you think it's important to bail out the corporations?
I think that certain corporations are fundamental. And I think if we allowed certain corporations to just go out of business, I think the average citizen are going to realize real quick that that's not something they want to happen. But there are certain businesses that could go out and we can care less. But as far as what Bernie is saying, as far as a UBI, temporary UBI, I don't know enough about that plan. I didn't look into that plan. I don't know enough about it to say yes or no. Um, but it might be something I'm for, depending on the details.
I want to figure out where to go now. Let's see. We kind of went all over the place, but a lot of my shows are like that. I tend to be loose and just have a conversation. I'm going to look at the comments really quick and say,
Okay.
Shawn says Bill Gates stated that he is undertaxed. Uh,
He probably is. And Bill Gates can always pay more taxes if he chooses to.
could if he chooses to, right? But he's not going to ever choose to. Just like, do you believe in the theory
So
of trickle down economics?
it can work sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't work. It depends on the company. It depends on the CEO. It depends on the stock market. I think there are certain people running corporations that do a very good job of taking care of their people. And then there are other CEOs and businessmen who don't care about their employees and don't care about the economy. They only care about making profit. And I think those corporations that don't look out for their employees and for the people, stop using their businesses. Stop giving them your money. Go somewhere else. If Amazon is not doing right by you, go to a competitor, go to Walmart instead of ordering online. There are many ways that you can make these corporations do the right thing without the government putting a gun to their back and telling them they have to.
Right, but then they get these monopolies over the industry. I want to get to a comment really quick that I just saw that kind of breaks my heart. It's going to take us back to the healthcare discussion. But Blue is saying that everyone should have health care, that her daughter died in October because she couldn't afford health
Mm,
insurance and she ignored the chest pain that she was having. And she died. A lot of
mm,
people do things like that. I know people that work sick, should go get treatment and don't because they can't afford it. They just won't even go to the doctor. There's millions of people like that. So I
Of
think that
course.
we need to, and wouldn't it be easier? You were saying you want to have your choice of health care. What does that mean anyway, though? Like, what do you think you won't be able to choose?
Well, uh, well, first of all, I want to say that I'm sorry to hear that your daughter died. Um, and I know it's a lot of people out there that's going through some of the similar situations. And I'm not under any impression that I want people to be suffering because they can't get health care. Um, what I'm trying to say is that when I say choose my healthcare is there are competitors, there are healthcare insurance companies out there that are competing for my
Right.
dollar. And they're and therefore they have to offer me something that I deem to be valuable in order for them to give in order to get my dollar. But when the government takes over healthcare, you get what you get. There's no negotiation. There's no, well, if you don't give me this, I'll go. You can't go anywhere else. And it may work out. I'm not saying that universal health care couldn't work out under a certain situation, but I just don't trust the government enough to be in charge of whether or not I get a surgery or whether or not I can get certain
But
medications.
do you think that there would be no insurance companies that stick around to pick up slack coverage for people that are concerned like you are, that want to have more coverage? Wouldn't there be insurance still for those people
to, to pick up the slack.
if you wanted
Well,
to? Like, if you weren't comfortable with the coverage being given, or if something happened along the lines of what you're saying. See, the way I see it is if you're in a Medicare for all system, every doctor takes Medicare for all. It's not the government going, "Hey, Ricky, you broke your leg last month. We're not doing this shit every month. You're going to hobble and just deal with it because we're cutting back on
yeah,
finances." It's just they're paying the bill. It's a single payer instead of millions of payers. They're just paying the writing the check out of our taxes to pay for the insurance instead of the insurance system we have now. The doctors and the care is all still the same as far as I understand, and I don't think there's a
it
gatekeeper
it
keeping you from it.
it won't be the same because once the government start dictating what they're going to pay for your health care to the hospitals and the doctors, there are going to be a group of doctors who say, I'm not working for that price, for one. There are going to be a lot of people who decide that it's just not worth it. I don't want to make, I got in this business to make money. There are doctors and nurses who go out there to help people, but also they want to make good money. I mean, who goes to school for 10 years and don't want to come out very well? So, and also when the government has a monopoly on the healthcare insurance, they can just start putting their boot on the hospitals and say, no, you're going to do this because we have a gun. You're going to agree to these prices. You're going to agree to these surgeries. You don't have a choice in the matter. And who can stop them?
I don't see. I just again, I don't think the government gets involved in healthcare decisions. I think they're just the payer.
Paying for it.
They pay instead of having a insurance based system, which is killing 70,000 people a year die every year because they can't afford medical treatment. Just for that reason. So it's killing people. This greed based system. And I think we're just talking about going from that to single payer. I don't think anybody wants the
Yeah, I
government
get
to
you.
be involved in hospital decisions. No one would want that.
I mean, could we really stop them? But let me take my political glasses off. Let's get down to a human level. Now, there is a part of me that I want us to live in strong communities. I want us to be able to look out for one another. If you see a guy homeless and he needs something to eat, something to wear, I hope that you would help him, you know? And I think there are a lot of people living today in communities and we don't look out for one another. Like, I know you're a Christian. I don't know if you go to church or not, but there's a strong community there. And if you see one of your brothers or sisters going through something, you say, hey, how can I help? Can we take ties? Can the group come together and figure out how to pay your light bill or help you get that surgery? I just think that we're depending too much on the government to where we're losing the social fabric that makes us all Americans and allow us to look out for one another, because the government is Big Daddy. The government will take care of it. The government will fix it. And I just don't think that works in a long-term strategy.
I I feel like with this particular topic, and then I'm gonna I'll try to put a bow on it. But as far as healthcare goes, I just feel like healthcare is a human right, that we pay taxes anyway, and that there's really no reason for us to have an $800 billion a year military budget. So we're wasting a lot of money, I think, on things I don't feel comfortable paying for, and I would much rather pay for healthcare and have that taken care of and know that people are taken care of instead of depending on GoFundMe's for medical expenses and raising ties at church or begging your friends. Because let's talk about this. Let's just to change gears. Because people are suffering. And what do you think about the living wage idea, for instance? Like raising the minimum wage, increasing what people are paid. What do you think about that?
I mean, you could do it, and I don't think it's going to work out in our benefit. I think that companies are just going to fire people, and I think companies are just going to raise the prices in order to make up for what they're losing. I just don't see that companies are going to take that loss.
But see what
I,
like
I,
this is I get what you're saying. But like let me use McDonald's for example. Their CEO made something like $54 million. Why don't we just fire that dude? I just saved you
who will run the
$54 million.
company?
I think you could find somebody to run it for a lot cheaper.
And then they're going to be demanding for
Then
more
fire
money.
that guy when he wants more money. Like, you know what I'm saying? How are you going to pay one guy 50 something $1 million and then the guy you're banking everything on to run your store only 50 or 60,000? You know, it's just 900 times more to the CEO than your average employee. It's just outrageous, I think. Then they sit there and they say, "We don't have the money. We don't have the money to pay people."
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of that. I just, for one, I would never go work somewhere and work a hard job and not get compensated for what I'm doing. Now I get that the people who flip the burgers and make the French fries are very important, but we can't belittle the what it actually takes to be CEO of a corporation and what kind of skill set that takes and what kind of training and education that takes. And you want to be able to reward people for their hard work at doing their job. And also, you want to set up a hierarchy in a society where people can start at the bottom and work their way up to the top. And I think that's where the problem is right there. Too many people are stuck at the bottom and not being able to work their way up to the top. Do I think it's a minimum wage problem? I think it's a lack of education. I think it's a lack of opportunity. I think it's the lack of, it's many factors. People get sick, like you say, and they don't have health care, or they got multiple kids and they don't have anybody to watch them. So we need to create a society where people have better access to education, making better decisions, not having kids too early, you know, making good decisions so that they can rise up that ladder and get into the upper middle class or become a millionaire one day. I just don't think that the society is being set up in a way where people can work their way up the ladder. And I think that's where the problem is. I don't think it's a minimum wage problem. I started off at minimum wage, but I worked my way up and got better. And I had to make decisions and sacrifices along the way. And I just think that we need more of that in society instead of just saying, I'm going to stay where I'm at. You just pay me more. You get what I'm saying?
Well, in a way, I get the logic of what you're saying, but what I'm saying is everything's went up dramatically in the last just 20 years, but pay has not. So like a gallon of milk cost me 4 or 5 times what it did 20 years ago, but the minimum wage is still the same. And it's just, I don't understand how a capitalist society thrives when people don't have money to buy the merchandise. I think that greed has gotten out of control in our society, and that trickle down has absolutely failed, and all it's done is gone up. Just like the example I was giving with McDonald's CEO, there is a handful of people that have turned the rest of us into worker bees. And I think this illusion of the hierarchy, I went the wrong way with that. I think it is an illusion because that's how they keep the base so strong in order to hold up all the wealth they have at the top of that pyramid, is to keep us all believing, hey, one day you're going to be just like me. But they give you no way to, it's so hard to pull yourself up. It's admirable. People do.
I think, look, I think that the faith in the government, looking to the government to fix it, is how they keep us down. The power is in the people. Right now, if every McDonald's employee decided to walk out of McDonald's tomorrow and we refuse to work, I guarantee you McDonald's will start paying them more. It's the people are the government. We the people, we have the power. The government is not this all-powerful being that fell from the sky and can dictate this, that, and the third. They only do what we allow them to do. And the rest is just discussions. Like me and you right now, me and you having a conversation, finding out where we agree and disagree. And those things we agree on, we can mobilize.
They're going to do their thing either way, though, whether we get involved or not. So what they're doing with their power is enriching their friends. They're not working for us. Don't we need to get them on our page? The government does matter. It has power over us and control.
So what exactly do you recommend? Like, you had Bernie Sanders, and Bernie Sanders was supposed to fight the establishment. It doesn't seem like that's about to happen. So what is your solution? How do you take back the power from the government?
Kind of a marriage of what you were just saying. Everyone needs to get very involved personally, on a personal level, I think. And as far as politics goes, I would vote strategically. I would vote as a weapon. I would vote against these people that have worked against our interests, like Nancy Pelosi's and Chuck Schumer's. I wouldn't care what letters next to their name. If they fought against the interests of the people, I would want them removed and replaced. I don't care about losing seats or Supreme Court justices. I can't be threatened with that stuff. I think we need to get very strategic with our political action. But mostly we do have to do things like boycotts, general strikes. There's a general strike coming up May 1st. I think that's the kind of stuff we need to do. Send a message. Like you were saying, if every McDonald's employee walked out. But we got to get people organized.
Of course, and this is what I was getting back to earlier when I said that's why I voted. That's why I was for Donald Trump, is because since Donald Trump came on the scene, there are more people in this country engaged in politics that have never been engaged in politics before.
That's true.
That's because of Donald Trump. And if it wasn't for Donald Trump, some of us wouldn't even be talking politics right now. So this is an opportunity for us to do what you're doing right now and what I do on my show, reach out to people, get people engaged, learn to mobilize, and make real change from the ground up.
That's what I think too. And see, that's exactly what I mean. Neither one of us, we didn't agree on almost anything this entire feed, but we both agree we need to work together to move society forward. And I think we can.
Of course, and that's why it takes people. And like, I think that's one of the things that makes me conservative, is because I believe strongly in the individual coming together. I want the government to be small, and I want the people with the power making things happen. I don't want to wait around for the government to do what I want them to do. I want to make it happen. You get what I'm saying?
You're right, though. You're going to have to educate people, because we've never been trained how to participate in democracy. We've been trained to let them handle it, not really ever vote. You're not taught how to vote or how to get a bill passed or how to do anything like that. You got to get involved, though, and that's That's why they don't teach you. They don't want you to learn. But I think we really need to get very involved and pay attention. That's how we make change. But I really appreciate you
Of
coming on
course.
and having
And
this conversation, man.
not a problem. I really enjoyed this
Let me check the
conversation.
comments
I
again.
feel like we
Go
could.
ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I was saying I feel like we could probably talk for three,
Oh, we
four
probably
hours,
could. I'm not
honestly.
wrapping
And
up. I'm going to keep going. I don't know how long you have, but Way says it is the government partners with big corporations. They can kill the small business. They create a society with no opportunities to average people. That is why we should have a revolution to change the government structure that supports the people, not the corporations. And I agree with her. Our government works towards the 1%, the interests of the 1% and the corporations. They don't work for the people.
that's such a good point, and it's a libertarian point. Um, I would say conservatively because the government, this we make the government too big. The government is too big. Right now, the government is working with Apple and Google to track you and know where you're at based on this coronavirus. Can you
No,
imagine
they're
that?
talking about a digital tracking
Like,
system.
you see what I'm saying? We're giving the government too much power. And one day it's just too late. What scares me the most out of everything. That it doesn't matter what we agree or disagree about. I think the fundamental thing that we should both agree on is the government has too much power.
I think the wrong people have too
And
much power, and the people need to take it back.
power
Yeah,
corrupts.
the because our government, I feel like, is bought off, and I feel like that's why they work against us because they're bought and paid for. The we have a shadow government. We have owners.
Washington D.C. is making millions and millions and millions every
Yeah,
year, and it's happening right before our eyes. And this is another thing when I was talking about education. Everybody send their kids to public school. Not everybody, but there is a large population in America that send their kids to public school. Who runs the public schools? The government. You think the government is going to teach your kid how to start a successful business, how to operate taxes and tax loopholes? The government is not going to teach you how to be successful. They're going to teach you how to be a
that's all
worker.
they do.
That's all they do.
That's
Look, me and you having this conversation right now, you'd be amazed how much we agree on.
I'm sure we would. That's what amazes. But I wouldn't be actually. It wouldn't surprise me. Like I said, I have a friend, Clinton. I've had him on before. People know who I'm talking about. We don't agree about anything politically. We agree about almost everything else. It's funny to me, but some people would be stopped. Like they just wouldn't even listen anymore once you said you're a Trump supporter. They wouldn't want to talk to you anymore. But we've been able to sit and talk about a lot of things and probably could learn a lot from each other. And that's the only way to grow.
And I'm appreciative of the fact that I am a black sheep. I'm a black conservative atheist. So if you got stereotypes in your mind, you can throw them out. You can throw them out the window, because people come in all different shapes and sizes, different mindsets, ideologies, and that's one of the reasons why I was willing to talk to you. And I started my show was to show people I don't know everything, but I'm willing to have a conversation. I may be wrong on 10 things. I may be right on 2, but can we have a conversation? And I think that's what's most important. That's what we're missing. We so divided right now. You won't even hear out the other side.
Yeah. Angel said that the government teaches people how to be workers. Truest thing I've heard in a long time. And then Jones says that no higher up employee should ever get a raise unless everyone in the company gets a raise right down to the lowest employee, and it should all be on the same scale. What do you think about that?
Now and that's a good point. Now let me show you how that cuts. If you ever worked at a corporation or a company where it was maybe 10, 15 or more people, try to organize and try to get people on the same page. You'll see how difficult it is to get everybody together and to strike. People can pull it off, but it's very difficult, especially when you're starting off with nothing. And that's what corporations understand. They study human psychology. They understand that it's hard for one worker to get all the workers to come together and strike and to fight back. And they depend on that. As soon as we can get over this hurdle that I got to get mine and you get yours, the better will be to realize numbers is strength. And as soon as you put those numbers together, you got strength. And that's what I'm trying to get people out of. I don't care whether you're a liberal, whether you call yourself a lefty, a Democrat. What I care about is us as a people, as Americans, working together to make this country better. And we might have different ideas on how to do that, but let's find the areas where we have in common, and let's start there.
That's excellent.
So I don't know how many people listen.
That was excellent. You couldn't have said that better. It's exactly how I feel. We can find common ground. We can work together. We don't need to get so defensive just because we don't agree about this or that. There's a lot we do agree on, and we can make progress. And we have to come together. We need each other.
Of course we do. I can't do it alone. I ain't strong enough. You know. How many people listen? You have a lot of listeners?
Right now, there's 16 people here. We're doing pretty good. We've been growing, catching on. The page is getting close to 1,000 likes. But we started a new page, and it started a new direction. This is only the 7th episode of this particular show.
Am I your first guest?
You are the first guest on the Shawn Yankey show. So you are honored. Your name goes up on the wall. But Blue says that there's no such thing as an atheist conservative. She said that's kind of wrong. Doesn't make any sense to her.
Yeah, if you're thinking Republican, when you think conservative, then you might want to separate those two. Conservatism is not married to the Republican Party. Most Republicans are conservative, but conservative is just a set of values in a certain ways. It's a certain platform that you adhere to. But just like liberalism, I don't think it's married to the Democrat Party. There's conservative Democrats.
Yeah. There's plenty of them. Yeah. It's not even friendly over there to be liberal. They'll tell you it is, but it's not.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I see exactly what you're saying.
And yeah, Trump is not a conservative. Everybody knows that. Trump is not a conservative, but he's heading the Republican Party right now.
He's a Democrat most of his life.
These labels, so these labels they're just all over the place. I say conservative because I'm really right-leaning libertarian, but most people, they understand conservatism, and I'm closer to that side of the spectrum. So I just say conservative, but I agree more on a conservative platform than I do any other platform that I've investigated or read into.
Right on. Clinton says the only threat to the ruling class is a unified civilian population. You're exactly right. And that's what we're trying to do.
Right.
That's what I want to do. I want to do things like this. Reach across. Because like I said, we didn't have time. And I wanted to do this because I knew some people would be like, oh, I can't listen to this. But maybe they will. And maybe they'll sit with it longer than they would have any other time and realize, hey, I can learn from these people. And I can reach out to them. They have a lot in common with me. We need to involve them in things like a general strike. We can't just focus on our little chamber in our closet. We have to reach out to everybody. That's how we get power.
And I've been thinking about this in the last few days because I've been getting attacked on certain issues, and sometimes it's very hard not to run all the way to your bubble and stay in your bubble. It's easier. It's safer there. Mm-hmm. And it's very hard to resist that urge because there's a lot of people out there on television and they only feed their base. And I just got to stay strong because I don't know everything. I'm humble. It's plenty of things your listeners probably know that I don't know, and I'm willing to learn from them. I would never get on your show, my show, and say I got it all figured out because I just don't.
Right. Yeah, and I feel like that's the best way to be. I've you could just about squeeze what I don't know in the Grand Canyon. There's tons I don't know. You,
Oh yeah.
and I feel like that's the best way to be is to be aware of that, and because that's the other thing I appreciate about you as an atheist. When I mentioned I was Christian, you didn't even scoff. I was impressed with that. A lot of times people will dismiss me as stupid just because I say I'm Christian if they're atheist.
Yeah, I posted a video in the atheist group on Facebook, and it said God is dope. That's what the thumbnail was on my video. And you would be amazed how many atheists got up there and just accused me of being a Christian demagogue, and they didn't even take the time to review the information on the video. They just instantly started judging me. And that's one of those things. It makes it hard not to run into your
Yeah,
bubble. But you're right. You're absolutely right. And look, it doesn't bother me. My mom's a Christian. My dad's a Christian. Most people I know are Christians. So, I love them. Why can't I love the guy that's a Christian across the screen?
right. Yeah,
you know?
I agree with that, and I just think it's just. But they're the same people that would be mad at you for being a Trump supporter or anything. You know how people tell you not to talk about religion and politics. They're divisive. They're divisive issues, and but yeah, I'm sure that you as an atheist have a lot of stories about Christians that weren't very Christian like attacking you. But it's just interesting to me how some people wouldn't even talk to each other because they have different views. But Clinton says if they can force you to wear a mask to buy food and gas, then one day they may force you to have a vaccine to buy food and gas. We must resist the temptation of throwing our rights for public safety. Now, the vaccine coming up. Bill Gates has been, you mentioned Bill Gates earlier, he's been saying that he wants it to be mandatory, needs everyone to be vaccinated, and we need to track who's been vaccinated. And Dr. Fauci has even talked about a national tracking for the vaccine. Does that kind of talk concern you?
To me, that sounds ridiculous. Like, for one, look, if there's a vaccine out there that can save lives, for myself personally, I'm not against vaccines. I know a lot of people who are, but I'm not against it for myself. But to tell me that you are forced to take something, or what?
Right.
Like, my next question is, or what? Because I think they forget who in charge here. It just doesn't make any sense to me. You're not going to force me to put something in my
No,
body.
I don't like the language
Now,
of
look,
it either. I don't like the way they're saying it and presenting it. And like Clinton was saying, I think they're scaring us to death, and they're using it to. And I'm not saying there's not a reason to be afraid. I'm saying they're using it to push their agenda. And I am afraid sometimes how much we give up in the interest of safety. Think about what happened after 9/11 with the Patriot Act and all of the things we did let happen in the interest of being a little bit safer. So you got to be careful.
What's your ideas on Snowden? What's your thoughts on
I think
Snowden?
he's a hero.
Do you think
No,
he's a
he's a
traitor?
hero. I think he's a hero for exposing what he exposed. I'm in favor of whistleblowers, and I think they should be protected. What he exposed was important information. I think the American people deserve to know that there was a massive surveillance going on, and we're being looked at at that level, spied on at that level. I think we deserve to know that, and I appreciate that he sacrificed so much to bring that to light. But it's a shame at the same time that he would have to and leave the country, leave his way of life, leave everything behind in order to expose that. What do you think about Edward Snowden?
I've gotten into this discussion with so many of the people that watch my show, but I don't talk about it on my show. But I've had conversations on social media, and on the conservative side, there are a lot of people who push back on me. But I just think that Snowden is a hero. Bring him home. and leave him
Yup.
alone. Like, this man should be here. He's an American hero. For the simple fact is, the government was doing something against our wishes, spying on American citizens without our permission. The man's a hero. Bring him
Hmm.
home.
How do you feel about Julian
I just
Assange?
don't know how this is. I don't know much about
No?
him.
Oh my God, you got to inform me. He's
No.
a hero as well. Julian Assange is the founder of WikiLeaks. You know about WikiLeaks, right?
Okay. Yeah. Now I know what you're talking about. The name sounded familiar, but I wasn't putting his face together at first. Wasn't he locked up in the embassy for a
Yeah, for
while in
7
Europe?
years he was in the embassy, and now he's in Belmarsh prison in Europe, awaiting extradition to the United States for crimes against the United States.
Mm.
And for telling the truth, he's a publisher, not a super spy.
Yeah, I think that from what I understand, WikiLeaks is a publisher of people that get information and they just put it out for the world to
Mm-hmm.
see. Now, I did hear something about him being complicit in allowing the Russians to infiltrate our system or use that propaganda in a way to harm our elections. I don't really know the legal ramifications of that. So right now I'm gonna have to put my opinion on the back
Well, I'll
burner
tell
right
you
now.
mine. I don't. I think RussiaGate's complete bullshit, and I think it's all propaganda. I think Russia is Seth Rich. I think Seth Rich was the leaker of the DNC emails. I don't think Russia hacked the emails, had anything to do with the emails, and the fact that they interfered with the campaign and the timing of it is because that's when Seth leaked the emails. It's WikiLeaks publishes things when they get the information. I don't think that they were
Yeah.
strategic or working with Russia. I think Seth, an American, leaked those emails, and then Podesta left his damn cell phone in a taxi, and that's how his was exposed. But the Clinton emails, I don't think Russia had
Wow.
anything to do with hacking those. I think that's a lie the mainstream media made up in order to cover themselves and cover the fact that they were complicit in rigging the 2016 primary.
Did you see that story about the reporter who said she had the story on Epstein and they
Mm-hmm.
killed the story when she was on a
Yeah.
hot mic? That was that was it for me. To me, I just thought, yo, we can't trust these people. These people do not have our
No.
interests at heart. These people, you can't trust these people. I don't care if it's CNN, Fox. I don't care where you get your news from. I'm just at the point right now where I take what I can that's not harmful, and any of that other crap that they're trying to push on me to try to change the way I think and see things. I don't take it. I don't take it with a. I don't even take it with
See,
a
we
grain of
agree
salt.
on a lot of things. We, yeah, we
Oh
just
yeah.
we just don't pull the same lever in the voting booth. That's all. We just need to come together. You're like you're gonna be like my
Yeah.
friend, like Clinton. I've been wanting to convert Clinton forever, but now I got nothing to convert him to. So
Me and you, look, I'm making a lot of friends lately. So come on, brother.
let's see. Let me look at the comments one more
Yeah.
time. See what everybody's talking about. Snowden and Assange are heroes. I agree with you, Blue. Net says time to end this combo. Dude doesn't know Assange. Oh, you got some haters. He knows who he is now. He didn't know at first
Yeah.
that Julian was the founder of
Yeah.
WikiLeaks,
I
but
couldn't.
we've educated him.
Yeah, I had to put the name and the face together. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So,
But no, thanks again for coming
yeah, like,
on, man. This has
I,
been fun.
oh yeah, like I told him, I don't know everything. So you got me on something, but it was fun, man. I enjoyed it, and I hope we have many more conversations in the future. And maybe I can have
I
you on my
want to.
show.
That'd be fun. You got to do that.
Oh yeah, so we can set that up at some point.
But thank you again for coming on. And why don't you plug your show really quick, your YouTube channel or whatever the best way to get in touch with your stuff is.
Okay. All right, people. I don't just talk about religion and politics. I talk about culture. That's probably the main thing that I talk about. I talk about, lots of stuff. Black in America, free will, a lot of philosophical debates. It's the Javier Javier Show. That's spelled with a J. Say it twice on YouTube. The Javier Javier Show. Check me out on Twitter. I got Javier270 Javier. You can find me there. And, come hang out with me. Join the Javi Lobby today, and let's have fun and enjoy the conversation.
Thanks again, man, for coming on. I appreciate it.
Not a problem, man. We're going to be talking.
All right. You have a good night, man. Thank you.
You too, brother. All right.
All right. That was Javier Javier. And I hope that there was value in that conversation. I hope that the point that I was trying to make with that conversation got across. Let me fix this. Sorry, going all around my studios trying to get my camera to work. But I hope the point was brought across that we can work together with people we don't agree with. Me and Javier disagreed on a lot of things, as you saw through the whole feed. But I didn't lose my shit, you know what I mean? Sometimes I deeply disagreed with him, but I didn't lose it because I realized we're going to find common ground. If I'm patient and I stick with it, I'm going to find areas where we agree. We're both people on this planet. We have the same enemies, and you saw that coming out at the end of the conversation. And that's kind of what I wanted to show with that you can talk to people that you disagree with, and you should. It's good to come outside of your bubble. It's dangerous to stay closed off from everyone else, and you can't learn anything that way. But let me see. I want to catch up with what you guys were saying. It was hard during that to really stay with what you guys were talking about. Clinton said Virginia governor sneaking gun laws during this fear propaganda. Blue says never get your news from corporate media. Oh no, never. Do not poison your mind with that. Brittany says that was awesome. Thank you. Angel says great show. Blue says nice, Shawn. Even though you're Christian, you're a good guy. Hey, most people that say they're Christian aren't. I don't think that most get it. Don't really understand what it means. Like I was trying to explain to them during the feed, like a lot of these politicians, they claim to be Christian, but their actions show something else. Blue says, I wanted to like you, but dude didn't know who Assange is. I know, that was kind of sad. I'm going to have to inform Javier about Assange and get him knowing about that. Kathy says later, or Clinton said later, Kathy said great show. Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate it. I hope everybody had a good time. I thought it was a good conversation. And I think I showed that we can learn from each other. We can work together. It's going to take a lot of work, but it is possible. So thanks for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed the discussion. And check out Javier's channel. He has really interesting shows. And he did me a favor because he's not really that political on his shows. They're more topic-based and conversational. So you may like it. So check that out. And thanks for watching, guys, and hanging out with us tonight for a little while. I'll see you Monday on the next Yankey show. Got another interview coming up in the future with the one of the organizers of Burn Your Vest. We're going to have him on and talk about the Burn Your Vest movement, talk about some direct action and things like that. And there'll be other cool stuff coming up in the future. So this is just the 7th episode of the Yankey Show. We're growing and figuring ourselves out. If you dug this, come back Monday, every weeknight at 7 for the Shawn Yankey Show. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks for hanging out.